Summer's end brings joy for many, but for some, it ushers in terror. As the warm days fade, darkness creeps in. Here are 3 true end-of-summer horror stories that will chill you to the bone. Summer doesn't end the same for everyone. While most people cherish their final beach days and barbecues, others find themselves trapped in nightmares they'll never forget. These tales remind us that when the sun sets on summer, sometimes it rises on fear. For some, summer's end means treasured memories of laughter and fun, but for others, it marks the beginning of sleepless nights and haunting flashbacks. The line between carefree days and terrifying nights can blur in an instant. Prepare yourself for 3 disturbing true stories that unfolded as summer drew to a close. These aren't urban legends or campfire tales, they ray real experiences that forever changed those who lived through them. Our first story takes us to a seemingly innocent Labor Day weekend camping trip. For friends excited for one last outdoor adventure before fall, set out for the woods. They pitched their tents, gathered firewood, and looked forward to a night of stargazing and s'mores. As the sun set, laughter echoed through the trees. Ghost stories were shared around the crackling fire, sending playful shivers down spines. Little did they know, a real horror awaited them in the darkness. At the stroke of midnight, an eerie silence fell over the campsite. One friend left the tent to answer nature's call, only to freeze in terror. There, illuminated by moonlight, were massive bare footprints circling their tents. The tracks were fresh, still filling with water from the dewy grass. Panic set in as they realized they weren't alone. Sleep was impossible as they huddled together, jumping at every snapping twig. When dawn finally broke, they rushed to pack up and leave, only to discover their food cooler was missing. Hearts pounding, they searched the surrounding area, miles deep in the woods. They found it. The cooler lay on its side, contents strewn about, but it wasn't animals that had raided their supplies. The cooler and ground around it were splattered with blood. They never returned to those woods again. To this day, they wonder what creature left those footprints and whose blood stained their cooler. Our second tale unfolds on a lonely stretch of highway late one August night. A young woman was driving home alone after visiting friends. The roads were empty, streetlights few and far between. She couldn't shake the feeling of unease as she sped towards home. In her rearview mirror, headlights appeared. At first, she thought nothing of it, but as miles passed, the car behind her never turned off or passed. It maintained the same distance, always there, always watching. Her knuckles turned white as she gripped the steering wheel. She considered pulling over but feared what might happen if she stopped. Just as panic began to overwhelm her, the headlights vanished. They didn't turn off, they simply disappeared. Relief washed over her, but it was short-lived. Minutes later, her phone buzzed with a text message. Her blood ran cold as she read the words, "Nice blue Honda. You looked scared." With shaking hands, she checked her phone settings. It had been on airplane mode the entire drive. There was no way she should have received that message. To this day, she doesn't know who or what was following her that night. Our final story centers on a family's end-of-summer barbecue. It was a perfect evening, the smell of grilled food in the air, children laughing as they chased fireflies. As twilight settled in, the father noticed something odd. A stranger stood motionless at their fence line, watching the festivities. At first, they tried to ignore him. Perhaps he was just a curious neighbor, but as darkness fell, the man remained. His silent presence cast a shadow over their celebration. Just as the father decided to confront the stranger, the power went out. Plunged into darkness, panic spread through the gathering. When they managed to light candles, they realized the stranger had moved closer. He now stood at the edge of their yard, still watching, still silent. The police were called, but by the time they arrived, the man had vanished. Officers searched the property, finding nothing until they reached the back door. There, leading right up to the threshold, were muddy footprints. The family never felt safe in their home again. They always wondered if the police hadn't come. Would the stranger have come inside? These stories serve as chilling reminders that summer's end doesn't always mean peaceful transitions into fall. For some, it marks the beginning of nightmares that linger long after the leaves have changed. As you enjoy those final warm days, keep your wits about you. because when summer fades, shadows grow longer, and in those lengthening shadows, terrors can hide. Summer memories may fade with time, but true horrors leave scars that never heal. So as you bid farewell to sunny days, remember when summer ends, the darkness begins, and in that darkness, anything can happen. Lock your doors, check your back seat, and always be aware of your surroundings, because you never know when a perfect summer day might turn into a night of terror you'll never forget. Sweet dreams, and may your end of summer adventures be filled with joy rather than fear. But if you hear a noise in the night or feel eyes watching you from the shadows, remember these tales, and know that sometimes the monsters are real.